Wrong video. Sorry, guys.
Well, that's the way to start.
Here we go. Should only been 2 seconds. There we go. Easy peasy. Guys, we're live and we're loud and we're getting set up for the Champions League. Jeremy, Fedo, good to see you guys. How you doing?
Very good.
Good. I decided to pay homage to the team that won't play Champions League. So a little Lyon jersey, a little Juve jersey. No shade. But
A little bit of commiserations. Well, I'm wearing the colours today. We're playing Feyenoord tonight, so I'm thoroughly in Champions League spirit and mood, and I'm right up for it. So yeah, I'm definitely getting there. We had a packed weekend. Last week's show we were actually really hyped for the amount of football we're going to be getting this weekend. Some of the top quality fixtures we were going to have all over the shop, and it didn't really fail to deliver, did it?
From the beginning of the weekend, right from the first game onwards, Leverkusen against Munich, all the way to the end. A nice little loss from PSG to cheer me up in the middle of it, and then the 5 goals from Barcelona. It was a very good weekend of football.
Yeah, definitely a lot of heartbreak and heartache. I know Fedo abandoned the Magan game halfway through. We'll get to that at some point as well in the stream. But I think the one game that I feel like everyone watched was Leverkusen versus Munich on Friday night, and that was a great game of Bundesliga football. Certainly, I'm sure the final result was 2-2. It was goals galore. It was a great one, and yeah, it was a great way to start the weekend off. Did you catch the game yourselves? I take it.
Of course. I think that was a bloody awesome match to watch. I loved every single bit of it. My brother was at the stadium as well, so he sent me some pictures as well and videos. So that was awesome. To be honest, I think Bayern didn't look that great. To be honest, the only one I thought was really eager to win in a way, except from Kimmich, but he's a maniac. He always wants to win. That's just who he is. But I really like the spirit of Leroy Sané. He's an incredible player. Incredible how good that player is if he's loving what he's doing. And I think Leverkusen should have won that game. They outplayed Bayern, and they didn't win that game because of Victor Boniface, because he missed like four chances that had to be a goal basically. And yeah, that's all. But I'm really looking forward to that Leverkusen squad as well, because even if he missed those chances against Bayern Munich, this connection between Hoffmann, Wirtz, and Boniface is crazy. They're generating so much output. It's gonna happen, and he's gonna score loads and loads of goals.
We talked about Leverkusen a bit on the show the past few weeks. I wanted to ask you something about Bayern, Fedo, because I was listening to like a Bayern fan / expert, and he was saying that since Tuchel came in, it seems like there's a little bit of change in the mentality of how the team plays. Like it's definitely not about pretty football or developing youth or whatever. It's just about winning at whatever cost, and it shows in like how they play. Like, do you feel that way as well when you watch them?
Not really. I think Tuchel is just very stubborn with what he does. He always used to be it, and he is. That's why he's not really much liked from management. And I think Bayern, Tuchel, you had some glimpses of how good Bayern could be under him, but then you have like games like this, or when they lost against Leipzig as well, or even when they played last week against, who did they play before Leverkusen? They didn't look great. Gladbach, they didn't really look great. Only Tell saved them in last minute. Tuchel he's a great gaffer, don't get me wrong, but I don't know. He seems not to be the right fit at the moment. I still give him some time because I think he's a genius in what he does tactically, but he needs to use the squad more. And the big problem of Bayern Munich at the moment is the squad is so thin. It's unbelievable. We don't have any replacements. Like Coman injured himself, so we had to play Gnabry. And we couldn't bring anybody else instead of Gnabry. We had to bring Tell then after. And if Kane is injured, okay, we have to play Choupo-Moting. It's if Lima got injured, we only can play Mazraoui, and we can't play anybody else. And Lima did a great job. I think always when he plays, he's doing really good on the pitch. I think he's just such a powerhouse on the pitch. And yeah, it's getting that bad that we have to play Matthias de Ligt as a number 6. And it's the biggest waste of talent I've ever seen. This is the thing I really don't understand. Like, I hate to say it, Upamecano did play good against Leverkusen, and I really hate Upamecano. I think he's shite. But he really did play good against the Leverkusen. Without him, probably Boniface wouldn't have had 4 chances, but maybe like 10 chances to score. And he was the only one kind of even having a chance to hand Boniface. The other ones he just ran through, basically. And but I don't understand how you can have a center back like Matthijs de Ligt that you also played 90 million. So you paid Matthijs de Ligt more than everybody else on that team, basically, and you're benching him. And Tuchel wanted to have him. Like, when he was last year at Chelsea, I remember Chelsea really wanted to have Matthijs de Ligt from Juve because Tuchel wanted to have him. Now he has him and he's not playing him. And the only way he's playing him, he's bringing him the last 5 minutes to play as a 6. I don't know, guys. Like, I'm really shocked. Like, if Matthijs de Ligt doesn't start on Saturday when they play against Bochum, if I would be Matthijs de Ligt, I would start thinking, what is this shit? Like,
yeah. No, I'm with you on that one. And I think watching the game, it was quite clear that like Xabi Alonso's tactics can scale against better opposition. They started the game with Andrić, even though I think Palacios was a bit jet lagged coming back from Argentina or whatever. So Andrić started the first half. And Boniface, like you say, Upamecano did a really good job of marking him and being involved. But there was a few great moments where Boniface just bounced off him and he wasn't taking any of his nonsense, and it was a really good game. But I've been a long critic of Thomas Tuchel, so it's one of those ones where I'm not surprised that the wheels are maybe starting to fall off, but I'm surprised to hear you say that you think the squad is quite thin. I think it is quite thin now that you talk about it, of course, in those kind of forward areas. But there is like tons of mids, and there's a lot of centre backs, and they've got a few guys that can play left back as well. But there's a great comment here as well, and I think this is the thing with Bayern. Maybe you feel it with Müller on the pitch, but there's not much young talent, like just it is like you talk about on the bench. There isn't a number of guys that they can just look to and go, oh, that wee guy is 18 and up and coming. Let's go and try him up front. They don't really have anyone like that skirting around the team anymore.
They have Tell. Tell is crazy.
Yeah, but they bought him. Yeah, I mean, there's there's nothing else coming about.
We don't play our talents. That's true. 100%. I agree with you.
Yeah.
By the way, because we're talking about Tuchel, breaking news. Julian Nagelsmann is the new Germany coach until the Euro 2024. After that, he probably is going to dismiss and go back to club football. But that's huge for Bayern as well, because they can terminate the contract. So they have more money now at hand because they had to pay him. He was not fired, and he was just on the absence, basically. And he was just getting paid. You paid Tuchel and Nagelsmann at the same time. And it's pure Bayern. But I disagree highly with you, my friend, because I think we are very thin. Look at centre-back positions. We actually only have 3 centre-backs. We have Kim, Upamecano, and De Ligt. If one of those gets injured, we're really on the bottom. We have 1 right back actually in the squad. That's Mazraoui. We could have Burna Sosa, but let's not talk about Burna Sosa. He's not gonna play for Burna Sa. Sorry, he's not gonna play for Bayern Munich anytime soon. So we have to play Lima as a right back. In midfield, we have Kimmich, Goretzka, Lima, and Guerrero. Guerrero always injured. Don't count him as well. And then on the wings, okay, we have Leroy, we have Mathys Tel, Gnabry, and Coman. But as you see, if Coman is also one who's kind of injured a lot of times, and if you don't have Coman and then Gnabry injures himself, you only have Tel to play on the wings. He's not a winger; he's a striker. You know what I mean? And up front we have Kane. Okay, Kane is a hurricane, and he's so good. I've seen that this game alone against Leverkusen. And but after that, if he gets injured, we play Choupo-Moting. I don't know. This is not a Champions League title-winning squad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, fair.
The starting 11 is 100%. The starting 11 is, but what we can bring from the bench is not there, especially because somehow our players are always injured.
Yeah.
You have another right back. You have You have Joshua Kimmich. Did you hear what Michael Ballack said?
Do we have another right back?
He said he's world class at right back, but in the midfield he makes the team vulnerable.
I don't know where he got that from, but
yeah, Ballack said that.
Yeah, he did.
He's a world class player, but only at right back.
Yeah, he said mediocre player in midfield because he also learned to be a right back from his youth on.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know why you wouldn't. I don't know why he's. I remember Tuchel saying he would play Kimmich at right back, and I think Kimmich didn't take very kindly to that, which I found quite surprising. Yeah, he's quite happy playing in midfield, but
it's unbelievable. Like, that's a strange phenomena that people don't want to play on the wings, because also Alaba, he's a world class left back. He was the best left back in the game, and he hated it, and he wanted to play centre back or a CDM position. That's why
he is a centre mid, but. You know, like he would be. I'd love to see him play centre mid for somebody.
He does it for Austria. He plays centre mid.
Yeah, I mean a club, but you know, like I'd love someone to sign him and play him centre mid, because he could be a real force, man. Anyway, it's a bit of a tangent.
No, but I don't know. Everybody seems to hate to play on the wings. Like everybody, even Pavard needed to get out of Bayern because he didn't want to play at right back anymore.
Yeah, big time. The other game that sorry. Jez, what was that?
They don't want to face Mbappe.
They don't want to face Mbappe. Well,
or Vinicius. Take your pick.
Well, on that kind of Champions League note, I fancy Bayern in the midweek to absolutely take Man United's pants down. Like, I think Bayern Leverkusen, that was a very good game at the week on Friday night. But I think looking at how bad Man United have been, I think that Bayern Munich first 11 should still punish Man United 100%. This midweek, which is 100%. Always good for morale and all that kind of jazz, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Definitely, especially Bayern Munich is always one level above in Champions League. They seem to be having another mentality in Champions League. They always do this. Every year they dominate the group as much. They're the only ones who always get these 18 out of 6 games, basically. And I was super confident. That was the biggest bullshit I have done in a lot of times. In a long time, basically, I was super confident that Bayern is going to smash Bayern United. So I had a very big wager with a friend of mine, and I actually had some good amount of input in there. I said Al Hilal and Bayern are going to win. Al Hilal just drawed against some nobody from Uzbekistan. And I lost so much money. Unbelievable.
Nightmare.
Yeah, I think for Man United, it's a bit of the duel of the two like dusty big teams, right? Like they're supposed to be the best teams, and in the past few years, they're not fighting for winning it all, at least. But you talk about how thin Bayern is. I mean, look at Manchester United. Well, sure, they got pulled apart on the weekend because Brighton's so good, and I'm not going to say too much because Marseille is going to play Brighton soon. But if you look at the team that Man United has, like it's Lindelof and Martinez in defense, and McTominay was playing on the right side of that weird lozenge middle four that Ten Hag put together. Casemiro looks like a shadow of himself. And again, it's against Brighton, and Brighton moves the ball very well. But it looks like Man United right now, like I don't know what you think, but I think the only player who's doing something is Rashford. Like Højlund is not yet really adapting to what United is doing. Rashford is just running everywhere and helping them, and he's almost alone.
Yeah.
I didn't see the games. So I can't possibly comment, but I've never seen Rashford running about doing anything, to be honest with you, mate. So I find that hard to believe, but I will take your word for it because I do trust you. But his AA score's pretty tidy there. I don't know. I'm not a big fan. But anyway, I think
he's the only athlete. Like on the game, he's the only player who's available whenever they have the ball. And again, like against Brighton, it's hard because they press you everywhere and they take any oxygen that you have away from you. But yeah, if it wasn't for him, they would have been even worse than what they were.
Fair. So do you think Man United have got a shot against Bayern Munich?
No. I don't think so. Aaron Wan-Bissaka's out as well, so they even got thinner, Man United. They lost him, I think, for 8 weeks. Something, the ligament, I think something with the tights. I don't know. I don't know what he has. But I'm sad for United, but I think United's gonna come back, and I'm more and more becoming a United fan because I have so many United players at the moment. Sorry, but people are a little bit overreacting at United as well. They are I think, calling for Den Hag's head, which is massive because I think Den Hag is the only really good thing that happened to United in the last 4 years, basically. And I don't know if can they get somebody better, Quinny? That's the thing. Can they get somebody better?
But when you look at that team that he played against, he's picking the team. He's picking the tactics.
I know, brother. But
do you know what I mean? Is he that good, mate? He feels like he's way out his depth at this point. He's losing the changing room all over the shop. You know what I mean? Like,
who would you bring? Like, realistically, who would you bring? The only good guy is basically off the market now because he's become the new Germany coach.
Graham Potter.
I lost confidence after what he did at Chelsea, to be honest.
Well, I'm not convinced he would do much better at Man United, but if he left, that would be probably the first name that he would, gone by Christmas as a banker, says Charlie Dunbar. But yeah, I think he's shown to be out of his depth, taking this job on. Like, whether he's a high-class coach or not, like, I don't think that really comes into it with Man United's level clubs. There's another whole other dimension of what you need to do to succeed at that level, I think. Yeah. And I don't think he's got it this time around. Maybe he'll have it on his next chance at a big job if he gets it. But I think he's showing way. Let's see, taking Højlund off in the 60th minute. Fair enough, he's managing his fitness or whatever. But at that point in the game, do you know what I mean? Like, you can get another 5 minutes out of the guy. Just try and get another bit of something. 60 minutes was just way too like, not sanitized, but like, it's just like it's not even
conservative.
In that sense,
I understand.
Another game that we weren't really taking in, Fedo, was the Milan derby. In case you missed the final result, it was.
I don't know.
You didn't watch it?
I didn't watch it. I missed this game. I don't know why. Who played? Who scored?
So it finished 5-1.
Did we win?
No, you didn't. You didn't. There's no City bias in there because it's just different. I don't know. I don't really bias myself against Ten Hag or anything in that sense. Just talking about it. But it finished 5-1. Finished 5-1. Fedo. On you go, Fedo. Sorry.
Okay. I basically, you can ask the boys. I wrote after the 3-1, what is this shit? I'm out. Fuck this shit. I'm out. And I actually clapped. I turned off the TV and I was going for a run, for real. And that was too much. And I think this is a disgrace, what we're having in here. We had 5 derbies this year and we lost all 5. We lost 5 fucking derbies. That's crazy. You have to understand that. And Pioli got always outcoached by Simone Inzaghi. And especially at the time in the beginning of the year where Inter they didn't have the best time, but he still got outcoached by Inzaghi. And this is not acceptable. Pioli is, I don't have anything per se against him, but he always is in the big matches. He loses 5-0 against Atalanta. He loses 3-2 against Atalanta. All the big derbies he always loses, and that's not it's not good enough for Milan. And I hope next season, I don't know if you knew that, but Maldini got fired.
Yes.
Because he wanted to fire Pioli. He wanted to change Pioli because he said Pioli is not good enough for Milan, basically. And the management disagreed. That's why Maldini said, okay, I can fuck off then. And sorry for the language, but this is making me emotional. But so he could go away in peaceful, Maldini. And I really hope after the season, maybe we get some we should get decent results because our squad is pretty strong. I think we can still go for the 20th league title and get the second star. I think at this moment, Inter is a step ahead. Maybe my hated Juventinis, but I think we're not out of the race. It's only 4 games played, obviously. And in winter, where there's a lot of games, you need to have a deep squad. And I think we have a pretty deep squad at the moment. We have so much depth we can bring from the bench. So I'm not too worried. I just hope that our good friend, lifelong Milan fan, De Zerbi, is going to become the next coach next season. And then Pioli can go off and coach Fiorentina again. I don't know.
I've kind of got to the end of my week with Pioli in that sense as well. Like, see, when I seen that Ibrahimovic has been brought in for the Champions League game, he's going to be. He's in the squad somehow as like a mentor or something, or a life coach.
Yeah, he's a mentor now.
He's coaching Pioli how to coach the team now in retirement, which is just incredible.
The thing is, what the after comments he did after the game, I think that was what the management got really pissed about, because he said, like, the first 4 minutes only we had the game, only we had the ball. Okay, you can't say that if you lose 5-1. It's unbelievable. Like, the first 70 minutes we can take away, it's a good result. You can't do that. The first 70 minutes is also 3-1.
5-1.
It's a disgrace. 5-1 in a derby. Like, Capello, I don't know if you have seen the Capello when he used to train Milan. They lost, I think, 4-0 against Rome. He had like a 10-minute speech apologizing to the fans. What happened? And that was not a derby in Milan. It's a disgrace, and I don't want to talk about this anymore. I didn't watch the game anyway, so who cares?
In all fairness to Pioli, like, I know he definitely should be doing better, but he's also got players that have just arrived. Like, Rangers, Loftus-Cheek, Pulisic. This is all sort of new. Defensively, we said that their centre backs keep changing. Like it was Theo and Kier starting against Inter, and then also that game, it looks. I think more what is more concerning to me is that it looks like once it was 3, then they just gave up, and the last 2 goals were just, there's no point fighting, and so then we let it go. So, like, obviously you can find a better coach.
I think
but the players aren't helping.
100%. I agree with you. I think you saw that when you watched the game, that for especially for I don't want to defend him here because I love him, and I think he's absolutely world-class player, and he's gonna show the world what he's made of. But especially for a guy, at least that's what I saw, especially for a guy like Rangers, I think the atmosphere was too big for his first big derby. You know what I mean? And you saw that he was like kind of too respectful to the whole situation. Okay, we're playing in a derby against Inter. What do I do? What do I do? And he didn't look like himself, like, for real. Kier is slow as hell. But what can you do? It's not ideal. I think Marcus Thuram is. We lost him for 1 million. Congratulations to Inter for that. But I still don't think he's a good player. I watched him many years at Gladbach. I think that goal is legendary. Don't get me. That you score that goal, unbelievable. You frame it, you picture it, you put it on a wall. And but I don't think he's a good player per se, only because he had one good match. I watched him long time at Gladbach, and I was never convinced on Marcus Thuram, to be honest. And but just saying one thing, I said that multiple times. I'm not his biggest fan football-wise. I think Theo Hernandez is a bit overrated, just putting it out there. And he gives too much space, and he's too egoistic. And I still like him as a player because he's very emotional, and he loves for the team he's playing for, and he always tries to give the best for that team. But I think he's just overrated. He's making so many mistakes this derby as well. And the penalty was not a mistake per se. Everybody could have done that. I wouldn't say that's his fault, but just saying, Theo Hernandez, sometimes people overvalue him, what he actually is, in my opinion. The biggest star in Milan and absolute world-class player, and is Rafa Leao. You can't say anything about him. But Theo Hernandez, I'm not too sure. I think in some months or so, I think it's gonna be the Rafa Leao and the Rangers and the Malik Tiaf and Mike Magnan show, because Malik Tiaf is also a great player. I think for him it was too much as well, even if he already played the derby. But yeah, it's just San Siro is special. San Siro is special. If 85,000 people are in one stadium and there's more like a hateful atmosphere than in a normal game, then maybe you need to adapt to that. I hope he learned his lessons, and I hope they get on point today against Newcastle, because we need to win against Newcastle.
Well, I actually fancy Newcastle to do pretty well against Chiefs. But this morning, I don't know if you've heard this, but Eddie Howe's press conference, he revealed he has never been to a Champions League game in his life. So tonight will be the very first time he's ever going to be at a Champions League game. And his words thereafter was, I think we just treat it like any other match. That is clearly the words of a man that has never been to a Champions League game, especially in somewhere like the San Siro, So I'm really worried that Newcastle might be like a deer in headlights tonight and Milan might get a jail-free card on this one. But, getting hammered 5-1 at the weekend is probably going to give Newcastle a bit of a lift and a boost as well, that they're coming into there and they can do a number on them as well. Because I know you're saying about the squad, right? But see if you look at that midfield, right? See when I was looking at the group of death, that midfield there in the Premier League would get slaughtered. Loftus-Cheek, nobody in the Premier League was really after him. Rada Krunic doesn't play for any team in the Premier League for my money. And Tijani Reinders, fine. But he's one guy, So I think it's dicey, this game.
Yeah, dude, I see your points. I see the points. But I think with the atmosphere at home, the home advantage, I think could be something in for Milan. Especially, I think we're going to play Tuchowece. So he's going to play against what's the name of the tall guy? Burn. What's this? Burn. I think he's going to make him a little bit fizzy because he's very, very fast. And I love Botman, but he could have stayed injured for 2 more days, so he would play against Milan. But I think that but Newcastle has Bruno and Tonali, so that already is bigger than. Let's just buy Tonali and Bruno back, so we have Reinders, Tonali, and Bruno. That is fine. Then we're good. Then we win the Champions League.
Yeah. So it's Channy's in the chat. He reckons it's a Newcastle win on paper. And yeah, I think it's going to be it's the early kickoff tonight as well, which is great. So that's at 5:45. It's a real good appetizer because AC Milan, of course, are not main course level, but Celtic will be main course at 8 o'clock, so. So a big 6-pointer. I'll be really interested to see how that game in particular goes. I did say when the group of death was drawn, but I think AC Milan have got the best goalkeeper in the group. And I think this might be a goalkeeper fight tonight, Pope versus Magan. It could be a case of the goalkeepers reigning out. Inter against Sociedad. Any thoughts on that? And we'll move on.
Yeah, but basically, just last comment about the game tonight. I'm feeling kind of confident just because of the atmosphere we can get and our fans in the back. And we have a good squad, a very, very good squad. Defensively, we have Reinders. Maybe he can do it alone, hopefully. And but for example, I chose to play Reinders over Bruno Guimaraes. That shows that basically that I'm more convicted in Milan than in Newcastle. Obviously, because I love Reinders as well. But yeah,
I think Loftus-Cheek will probably play really well in this kind of game. Champions League, playing for the team, that kind of thing. And Reinders, but if AC Milan do get good periods of possession, then he's going to get lots of passes. So yeah, 8 could be pretty solid for a guy like that. I can definitely get it. Channy's got a funny one that I'll throw to you, Jeremy. Is anyone tempted to be putting their teams together in a way where they all play on the same night? So you've got a Tuesday team, a Wednesday team, and a Thursday team. Anyone thinking about doing that?
I have a pretty solid Thursday team with my Marseille players, so I'm a little bit like that just by design. I was really hoping it was going to be a Tuesday or Wednesday team, but it's a Thursday team.
Charlie went out and bought the best. Charlie went out and bought the best goalie anyway, so I think it should be fine.
Pandur.
No, he bought Chevalier tonight. It's this morning.
Chevalier. Did he?
The big man.
Chevalier's
big Cheva.
Confidence.
Channy boys getting the goalkeepers locked and stocked. Lille have got a funny game. Who are they playing? Is it Ludogorets or something? Or
Olympia Ljubljana.
Oh, Ljubljana.
Yeah, they play no one this weekend.
Nice. That'll be good for him. Inter are also playing Sociedad in Champions League football. Sociedad played Real Madrid at the weekend. Taki Kubo did his wee kind of Messi tribute act and little spells of it. We've seen Zacharian get him on the pitch, which was good fun. And, I think Sociedad looked kind of minced, to be honest with you, for the periods of the match I watched. But this feels like probably a good game for Inter.
Nah, Inter looks really good. I can't say anything more. I just talked too much about.
Inter
Simone Inzaghi is a good gaffer. I never thought how good he would be, actually, to be honest. I'm really surprised how good he is, because he was very good at Lazio, but he overdid himself now at Inter. Even if they wanted to fire him, he got the job, and I think they made that perfect. I think that was the best decision they could have done, because if not, they would have had to pay another gaffer and him. And yeah, now they have him, and he looks really, really strong. Problem is, I should hate Inter in a way, but I hate Juve more. Like, as a fan, I hate Juve more than Inter. But Inter has so many players that I like. That's the problem. So that's why I like watching Inter with one eye, because I love Bastoni, I love Di Marco, I love Martinez, and I love Barella, and I also really like Fratesi. So what should I do?
You're kind of screwed on that one. And I think one of the other big games we were looking forward to at the weekend, I think this was also a Friday night game, by the way, on top of the Bayern match, but it was PSG against Nice. And this game definitely rocked the boat over the game week, didn't it?
Yeah, for sure. And surprisingly, I think who was I watching? I think I was watching Lerginho, who was saying that PSG on Sorare were like favorites for the weekend, like one of the teams that had the most chance of winning. And they got surprised by Lorient, and in a very funny way as well. Like if you look at the stats, I think they end up with I have him right here, 70% possession, but only 12 shots and 3 on target, and Nice 30% possession, but 14 shots and 8 on target. And I think we talked about this in the other shows. That's what Paris is this season somehow with Luis Enrique, is that they play, they get the ball, but they are so vulnerable defensively. And he's trying to, I don't know if he's trying to change things or if he changed things for the sake of doing some rotation. But Pereira and Skriniar in defense, when you're playing against Terem Moffi, is like, is I don't know, is under 15 coach level of stupidity. Like, you're playing against a team that is going to defend low and just use Moffi for his speed, and you're putting your two slowest center back. You know that you don't really need Lucas Hernandez on the left for that game, because you need somebody who can bring a little bit more pace up front, and you pick the wrong player. So I know that he's trying things, and some players are just sort of like coming back in form. Even Kylian Mbappe in the form that he is, the fact that he's missed a few preseason games, you can tell that he's not quite where he's supposed to be. But if it wasn't for him, like, out of the 9 goals that PSG has scored this season, Mbappe scored 7. Dembele hasn't scored yet. Ramos hasn't scored yet. If you look at what Dembele does offensively as well, like, he's got the best touch, what you expect from Dembele, and every time he gets into the final third, his attempt at shooting are like terrible. Like, it's me with my left foot. So I think they need to sort a couple of things. I think it's mainly in their mentality. I think one thing that I didn't do on the weekend, probably because they're playing Dortmund right now, was to not start Ugarte, and Zaire Emery Soler was just too weak against what Nice can do when they counter-attack, and so there was nobody to actually cut Laborde or Thuram or even Ndai Shimie when he was going up to try and stop those counter-attack, and they got smashed because of that. And when you look at the goals that Moffi scores, the second one especially, it's he's got too much time. He's got time to go on his left foot. He's got time to go in. And then you would think from this distance, a keeper as tall as Donnarumma would stop that. But he's
to
got,
be honest, Donnarumma is not at fault, Jeremy. I know you hate him, but he's not at fault. I think he did pretty good
I don't hate
saves.
him. I don't hate him.
You don't like him. Let's say that.
Huh?
You don't like him.
No, I don't care. I don't care about him. I see what kind of goalkeeper he is. He is Ben Arfa for a football player. He's got 3-4 years where he was amazing, and now he's not amazing anymore. So we need to criticize him for what he does now, not for what he did when he was at Milan.
This was not his fault.
Did you just say he's like Ben Arfa?
Yeah, sorry. I didn't. That's the only comparison that came to mind. I thought it wasn't fair.
He's a goalkeeper, Ben Arfa. I can get behind it.
he made a couple of saves as well against Nice. Like, they could have conceded a few more, but he just seems like he's not confident anymore. And you know when that started? That started against Real Madrid when they lost and they should have won. And ever since that game when they lose 3-1 in Bernabeu, it feels like he's just not the same keeper anymore, because he's not reassuring his defense. He makes those weird mistakes where he looks like he doesn't see the ball. He can't. Not every other pass, but like 1 out of 5 passes is not to the player. it's just not to the player that's in front of him, and that's super scary when you're Paris Saint-Germain and you're supposed to dominate your adversary. So I don't have any feelings for anyone, Fedo. I just think that a goalkeeper who's in PSG with Luis Enrique, who just brought in his Barca keeper, should probably be a bit better than that. Because otherwise, Luis Enrique is just going to wait for the real mistake that he makes, the one mistake, and then he's going to put him out.
I don't think it's going to happen. But okay.
He's not as good as he should be. What happened to Gigot at the weekend, Ian? He's injured, injured or sick. I can't remember which one it is. And he is a maybe for Ajax. I'll try and get some information, but as I was saying to Quinny just before the live stream start, if you don't mind me starting to talk about Marseille, the news today in Marseille is that apparently Marcelino, the coach, is going to resign. So that's going to change fucking everything. That's happening in Marseille right now. I mean, you're undefeated, so you might as well get rid of the coach. But yeah, he was supposed to be rested, is my understanding. But he would have gone in after, I can't remember who's injured, Balerji gets injured, I think. He would have come in at the time. He was supposed to play Ajax, but now we don't know yet if he's starting. And yeah, the news that we got today is that we might be changing coach. So it's hard to get player news for today. I'm hoping there's 2 more hours to try and make sure, because I have Gigot in my starting lineup.
No Mbemba to just make the safe swap.
Yeah. I have Mbemba, Gigot, and then I have Veretout, who somehow always plays, and Harit. So I'll see how I put. I have Close is having a superb start of the season. He scored 100 again this weekend. So Close is the guy to have up until, I think we have another 4 weeks of him being good, and then you just have to quickly sell him before you get there, and then he stops playing.
He runs out of steam, or whatever happens to him after that.
It's Halloween. He's got stuff to do.
So Dortmund haven't been. I think Dortmund had a good result at the weekend. I don't think it was that
didn't
impressive.
have a good result. They played really bad, and then the last 20 minutes, they did come back against Freiburg. They won 4-2 against Freiburg. In Freiburg.
Yeah, I must have only seen the result. Must have only seen the result.
Gave it to them.
I watched that game. They started good, then they did the usual Dortmund, bottled it, and it was 2-2. They were playing very bad. And Mats Hummels, the legend. I love him. And Außenriss. And then in the last 20 minutes, then they played good again. But I'm not very convinced with Borussia Dortmund, to be honest.
Yeah. So Borussia Dortmund are playing PSG. This is probably going to be a game. It could be like 5-5 or something. If Dortmund are playing like this and PSG are playing like this, I don't know. Mbappe could score a couple. PSG Dortmund?
Playing Paris? Are they playing in Paris?
In Paris.
Okay.
Yeah, in Paris.
Yeah,
that's the really important game at 8 p.m. tonight.
2-0 Paris, I think.
It's the second most important game. 2-0, you think? I don't think there's a clean sheet in that game at all.
No, I think so. I think there's going to be a clean sheet, to be honest. If they play Haller, 100%.
I think
Haller is the worst
freaking player. Is have his fair chances.
Yeah, if Füllkrug plays, yes. But if Haller is playing, never. I can put my hand in fire for that.
Why did I read that Füllkrug was playing? Oh, maybe I just heard somebody saying that.
I can't imagine Dortmund not scoring.
They should. You see, he came in, he made an assist. Haller is shite.
Yeah.
Yeah, I read somewhere that Ben Sebaini would be rested and Füllkrug would start. Yeah, anyway.
I think he got a knock, but Benzabani always gets some knocks, what I read.
Yeah. Fair. I think that'll be an exciting game. PSG, Dortmund.
Yeah, it'd
be good to watch.
Can't wait to see Emre Can against Ugarte.
Can against Ugarte. I don't think that'll be. I think it'll be more Ugarte against Brandt. I don't think Can will be anywhere near him. Personally, like I say, I've not watched Dortmund at the weekend, but yeah, I think you'll probably see Can dropping into like a back five kind of mold, and they'll probably just try and hit and break. But no, it'll be good. I think to watch because there's a lot of players in that Dortmund team that are ready to make a name for themselves. You would think, and PSG, like you said, Dembele hasn't scored yet. Ramos hasn't scored yet. Muani's still coming into the team. Mbappe's scored 70% of their goals. Yeah, do you think so?
Muani's going to start tonight. I think tonight's going to be Mbappe, Muani, and Dembele. I think that's going to be the tridente. for PSG
It
tonight.
should be their first team. Yeah, it should be them
Yeah.
three. Then Ugarte is playing. I think he really likes Zaire Emery, so he might start Zaire Emery still, and probably Vigier on the other side. But yeah, they should put their best team supposedly.
Yeah. I think Kolo is gonna start tonight, and then maybe Ramos on the weekend again.
Channy Sports is in here with a shot calling, saying Emre Can was going to give away a penalty tonight. Heard it here first. So
Someone else was saying Emre Can to get a red card tonight.
That's definitely the Liverpool fan coming out in you there, isn't it? You know, there's some trauma there coming out.
Emre was good. Emre was good at Liverpool, though.
Yeah, he was fine.
Very good.
He was fine.
Good.
He was good.
I think it was his best spell of his career, to be honest.
Okay, fair. I can't really
In my
argue against
opinion.
that.
In my opinion.
Yeah, fair. I'm with you. And I'm just trying to think from the weekend and coming into the midweek, what else would be like the key fixtures and the key things to kind of rumble against? But nothing is coming up to me. We did have the first kind of 3D Premier League and Bundesliga draft at the weekend. How did you guys get on with that? Unless there's another game you want to bring up.
Very bad. I did very bad, so I changed everything and got Boniface in. Is it Boniface or is it Boniface? I never understood.
Should be Boniface.
I say Boniface, and people make fun of me, but I heard the commentators say Boniface as well.
Boniface is his name, his last name.
Yeah, I'm sure it's French and all that, but I'm still saying Boniface.
I changed it. I had a brilliant plan, and somehow it didn't work. So and now I changed my whole draft again. But I'm only playing the Bundesliga draft.
In EPL, I had a team that was close-ish to what you had. Quinny, I had Pope as a keeper, Trippier as a defender, but then I had Udogi and Solomon, obviously for Tottenham, and Haaland up front, and it didn't really work out well. I finished behind you in your comp.
Quinny, I meant to ask. This is actually a good question to you because you're a fan kind of both teams. What do you reckon the game Lazio Atletico is going to be?
I think Lazio win. So I was actually looking at I'm glad you asked. That's a great game, Lazio Atleti. So the other group that's in Celtic, the other game that's in Celtic's group as well. And like you say, Fed, I've been watching those two teams themselves for a wee while for their own reasons.
Yeah, you're kind of aficionado, let's say it like that.
Yeah. So when I look at both the predicted lineups, I just can't see that Madrid team getting anything. You know, really, like
they lost 3-0 against Valencia, and I think Valencia is very bad.
Yeah,
he said it was the worst game he played. He coached ever. Diego Simeone.
He said that.
Yes.
Holy moly!
Yeah, it was like the game with the least, you know, just like Jeremy said, the game with the least kind of fight and all that kind of stuff. The worst game he's ever had, kind of vibes.
Olympico is also great for Lazio. It's gonna be sold out.
Now, I don't think this Lazio team is like terribly attractive in any way, but that's a first choice team and they're at home. And I know they've not started their league campaign pretty well, but they are full strength and they're in a decent enough kind of rhythm of playing, if nothing else, you know. And I think it'll be maybe 2-1, 1-0. Won't be many goals.
I will be many goals.
You think there'll be many goals?
No. I don't think so. But I think it's going to be a 1-0, maybe 2-0, or a 0-0. I could see a 0-0 in that game as well, like for sure. I know both teams quite good, and I know Diego Simeone quite good. So yeah, I think it's going to be a 0-0. If Immobile doesn't get a pen, then he obviously is going to score. But no, it's going to be hard. The one to watch. Basically talking about Lazio because they lost 3-1 against Juve. Chiesa is a special player, special player.
Yes.
And Vlahovic was too bad for Chelsea apparently. And I don't know what's wrong with Chelsea scouting anymore, to be honest. And it's very modest from Allegri to say that they have nowhere a word to speak in the title race and everything because that's what he said, but that's typical Allegri. And I think they're playing for once in their life, which what I hate to say because I really don't like Juve. I have a Juve stack in Sorare because I know Allegri loves to play to 0. That's why. But as a Milan fan, obviously, I really don't like Juve. But they play good football at the moment. They're playing a very good football, and they seem to be way more effective than last year as well. And Federico Chiesa and Vlahovic, especially Federico Chiesa, seems to be more back than before. I don't think he's at his 100% still, but he seems more fit than last year. I think this break made wonders to him, and he's linking up very beautiful with Dusan Vlahovic. I think I was shocked to see how good they were, because they were before the Milan derby. It was Juve Lazio, so that was a good game to watch. And what a great partnership!
The stats for those two, since they both joined. So Vlahovic joined January 22, winter window, but last year. They've played all together. They've played like out of 45 games or whatever. They played less than 900 minutes together for Juve. So like it's really the first time that we are seeing them playing game week after week together next to each other. So that'll be interesting to see how he keeps
by the way,
he goes well right now.
Shout out to Weston McKennie. He had a brilliant game. 100%.
The Americans.
Yeah. And we've got Connie in the live chat as well, saying as an American, he'll be his first Champions League he'll be paying attention to. If you've not caught the stream earlier, we've been kind of chatting about the games when they're on and what ones are good to pay attention to throughout the stream. So if you've been catching that, brilliant. If you've not, feel free to jump back and catch up on pieces of the show, because there's a lot of good games on. There's a lot of good context going into these fixtures as well. I forget who Juve have in the Champions League. I don't think they've got
nobody.
So
whoever will take their money.
Yeah. So, but I didn't catch this game myself, but I did see the highlights and the goals. Like that feels like a really good front two. Like there's not many front twos running around now, like in top end European football, and you know the energy Chiesa gives you and that kind of poacher's instinct he's got, very selfless nature on top of big target man. It feels very well built now, doesn't it?
You know, when I watch Chiesa play, you know how I feel he looks like? I think Chiesa is from the technical abilities and what he does for a game. For me, he is Thomas Müller with pace.
Interesting. I would describe him as Dyson Maeda if he was world class.
Dyson Maeda.
Yeah, I would say Thomas Müller.
Müller with pace is fun as well. I like that. I'm not saying any of it's different, but it's fun how you think that. I think
when I see him play and his style of play, I think it's Müller with pace. And Müller was a world class player. Yeah.
Well, Müller really showed himself, I think, in the Friday game as well. Because Müller's never been a great, he's never been speed, like you say. He's not got speed or anything like that. But he's just like a great football player. Can do everything in that stage of the game. Doesn't really matter where it is on the pitch. He knows the right thing to do. He's strong enough. He's clever enough. And Chiesa is very much like that as well, but with pace. So that's a very good way. I'm all about that.
No, I think we have very good for Connie, who's seeing his first Champions League. I think we have very prestigious games tonight. We're going to start off with San Siro at 6 UK time. That's beautiful. Sadly, I'm in a meeting at that time, so I would just catch the second half. Very bad, but that's just UK work time for me. And
I've got a feeling you're going to choose to watch Leipzig by the time you get to watching the games. You'll probably see Newcastle winning 3-0, and then you'll go back. I'll just watch Leipzig.
You know the good thing is,
just go to the other one. Just
probably I'm not gonna. Yeah, I'm gonna watch that then, 100%. But I'm just gonna smash the TV at that point of view. But no, the great thing, especially in the group phase, I don't know if you have that in England, because I always somehow watch it through VPN in Germany. But in Germany, they have a conference, so they show all games on one channel, on one channel basically, and that's awesome. There, goal! No, I'm probably gonna watch Milan though, even if they're behind 1-0 or 2-0. I'm gonna watch them. My love is for them, and
Do you boys see any surprises coming up for this first round?
Celtic's gonna win against Feyenoord.
Yeah, that's it, Fedo. Celtic are going to go beat Feyenoord. Love it.
It's all right. You're invited next week, Fedo.
Yes. I like that. I'm not too sure that's as much of an upset, but a lot of people, like, see Celtic fans have been actually quite cautious about this game because Feyenoord have been doing kind of well and all the rest of it.
good.
But they've sold a lot of players. But, Celtic we've just really lost Jota. I know we've got some injuries here and there, but I definitely think the game is there to be played. You know what I mean? I'm not, this is Celtic home and away to Feyenoord is going to who decides third, so you got to go after that game. So yeah, thanks, Fedo. I love that.
But then, just for Connie, so you have a European Classic with Feyenoord Celtic. That's a European Classic. And then you have a European Super Classic with Bayern Munich Manchester United on Wednesday. So can't get better than that. And of course, you have going to see play Paris versus Dortmund. And sadly, I thought Union was playing at home, but they're playing in the Olympia Park anyway. They don't play at their home in their stadium, so that's a bit of a pity, I think. If I'm not mistaken, I could be mistaken.
They're going to Madrid this week.
Yeah, they're going to Madrid. But
you mean when they play home, they won't play out?
Yeah, when they play. Imagine Vinicius Junior at the Alte Försterei. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You got you got the last team of Ligue 1 playing against the last team of La Liga. Oh no, wait, they won this weekend, right? Sevilla, so they're not bottom anymore. Sevilla against Lens.
Lens is so bad. What happened to Lens, Jeremy?
I think it's
and that's it.
I think it's what happened to Leicester. Remember the year after Leicester wins the title. Like you lose your 2-3 best players, and then you can't cope with the amount of pressure you have. To be fair, this weekend they lose 1-0 against Metz, and they should win 6-1. But they just can't score for shit. So I think they'll get over the hump. But the game against Sevilla might actually help them, like level back up. But I think it's going to be a tough season for them. Like they'll do mid-table and hopefully go up there. As far as the upset, I reckon Braga can beat Napoli.
Ooh. Yeah, with Rudi Garcia, everybody can beat Napoli.
Well, that's it. I thought that all week. I was like, I should probably see Braga. But then this weekend they got done 3-1 by like a team that I've never heard of. Farense.
Bro, Rudi Garcia is so bad. Like it hurts me to watch him coach. I hate this guy.
To show as well.
And they played 2-2 against Genoa, and the people are now starting to get worried. And people are asking, what happened to Napoli? Like, a lot of my friends ask me, what happened to Napoli? What happened? I said, Rudi Garcia happened. That's what happened.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Speaking of what happened, I'm sorry. It's not Champions League at all, but it's Italy. What's going on with Frosinone?
Yeah, they're good. Mathias Soulé, Juve, Loni, is a very, very good player. He didn't have space at Juve, but he seems to have it now at Frosinone, and they have another 3 Juve loanies who are starting as well, who play really good for them. And I'm really excited.
A bit Atalanta, a bit Sassuolo.
Yes, yeah. Berardi, crazy guy, still 60 points, just AA as a striker.
Yeah, even
lovely.
When he loses, who cares?
Yeah, lovely.
Anyway, I just saw their scores and I was like, what are they doing?
Matias Vinha plays for Sassuolo now? Holy moly.
Matias Vinha? Oh, yeah.
Roma.
I was more laughing at Jeremy Toljan. He was a big failure at Celtic. He came on loan from Borussia Dortmund. He was rubbish, man. Well, so he's got back to playing a game.
Toljan.
Interesting. So, guys, I think that probably gets us to probably at the end of it. I'm looking forward to the Champions League this week, and I think we had the Bundesliga, we had the La Liga draft. I've got a sneaky feeling, today, what day is it? Tuesday? All that stuff happened Wednesday. Wouldn't be surprised if we see some Italian, maybe some Spanish, maybe a wee bit of French, revitalization, some new 3D cards coming out. So I think if that's the case, next week we'll probably have a wee bit more of a draft focus. We can have a wee scan across the 5 and see the games that we've had play, and we can probably get into a wee bit more of picking some winners and some losers and all that kind of fun stuff. But yeah, Champions League will be good fun. Jokes aside, I know, Jeremy, you're in a totally different time zone. What games will you actually be catching? Will you be watching anything midweek? Live? I mean,
I'll watch the 5 a.m.s tomorrow, so I'll have to watch PSG against Dortmund. I'll watch the Frenchies. I'll watch PSG Dortmund and Sevilla Lens. But then Marseille against Ajax is going to be the
one
big game
captain
where
playing?
I don't know how I'll feel.
Is Sergio gonna play the General? Is Ramos gonna
From
play
where?
against Lens?
Hmm?
Ramos.
Sergio
Oh,
Ramos.
sorry. Yeah, he started this weekend. He started against Las Palmas, and that's their first win and their first clean sheet. So he's definitely going to play, right? They're just going to keep him on.
100%. I think he's fit. He looked fit.
And he did what it took to make sure the supporters like him. I don't know if you saw, but there's like a highlight video of him where the keeper makes a save and then he jumps to like save the ball with his whole body.
Yeah.
Navas is still playing as well. I thought Navas retired last year. That's amazing. They've got Navas and Ramos.
Rakitic.
And Rack.
It's a retirement home.
And Loic Bade. It's
bad, he's good.
That
he was great, then he was bad, and now he's good again.
Yeah, he just needs a decent partner, I think. I reckon.
Even
Rakitic,
anyway,
they
need to finish third so they can win the Europa League.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's what they should aim for. Sousa playing or is he not playing? Sousa. The where is he? No, he's not.
Oh, Suso? No. I seen him behind somebody, but no, it doesn't look to be starting. He was behind this guy, I think. Yeah.
Strange. Yeah. What are you gonna watch, Quinny? Obviously, Newcastle Milan as secret Newcastle supporter.
Fortunately, I've got 3 tellies, so I'll be watching both the games at 5:45, which will be good crack. Okay. And then I'll get to watch both the good games tonight. I'll watch Celtic Feyenoord on the main telly, and then I'll put, what was the other game we're talking about again? PSG Dortmund?
PSG Dortmund.
I'll put that on another one, and then if there's another one that's going off, or maybe that TNT Sports or whatever, they do like a goal show. So I may put that on one of them as well, and then just, Champions League's always good fun in here.
100%. It's going to be awesome.
Big midweek. I think the last thing I would kind of say, guys, is do you have any midweek teams going out? You've got a wee bit of I've got a chance for this one, or one that you're excited about? You can share screen as well if you like.
Let me find the one that I put on. I have a couple of like cheeky AFC players that if they do play, work out well for me.
Few wee Champions League guys, the Asian Champions Leagues.
So I get into it last year. I got some good stuff there.
Right, I can show. Can I show?
Yeah. Just there's a wee button down at the bottom.
Pam. Yeah. Let's say those 3. I think are pretty cheeky in a way. But this is because MLS is playing and everything. I hope Balde starts. That's the thing. I hope Balde starts. I really hope. Then I think should be fine, to be honest.
If Luis Enrique makes the decision now that Donnarumma isn't to be the keeper anymore, I got an under 23 rare team with Arnaud Terras, Tavon Gray, and Santiago Rodriguez from New York City, then Thiago Almada and Julian Alvarez.
This is a wee insurance policy team. I love that.
100%.
Do you have some? Or just the Celtic stacks?
So I'm not putting, I don't know, I'm wrestling with playing a Celtic team. And so what my first plan was just playing a pro team and just mixing up the good rares and supers and imagine we win 2-0, pick the best team if we win 2-0 kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But then I looked at it and I was like, I could put Guardiola in defense. And then I was like,
What is he playing? I love him. But I don't know if he's playing.
At home at Red Star, I think he'll play. But anyway, and then I'm looking at the super rares and I'm like, I could play John McGinn. He's playing Legaue Warsaw, and I could play Mark Rocca. He's playing Rangers, and then that basically then disassembled the team kind of anyway. But I've got a Bayern. You'll like this, Fedo. I'm playing Leimer and Goretzka, double mids.
Both gonna start. 100%.
Both going to start. Both going to kill Man United. So that's going to be a good midfield, I think, Champions League style. And I think Champions League wise, it's probably the only thing worth mentioning. Besides 100%. Celtic. I think probably the last thing I would say on midweeks and whatever is probably the fixture I'm most excited to see in terms of the SO5 result is Leverkusen at home at Hacken. I hope that's 5-0 or something. I hope it's hat-tricks galore.
Holy moly. Hopefully Palacios hat-trick galore. I'm going to captain Palacios, 100%. Palacios. Especially the great thing is he's scoring, he's shooting the pens. So just have 3 pens and I'm fine.
Good luck to everyone this midweek, and we'll catch you next week. Take care.
Ciao.